Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm thankful to ARC, Dr. Chitra ma'am, and AOS for giving me this wonderful opportunity to present. So, because of the time restriction, I'll just stick to the interpretation of fundus fluorescent angiography. So, how to comment? So, any investigation is an art of description. So, straight away, we should not jump to the diagnosis. So, we should go step by step and analyze each and everything. Then we have to come to the diagnosis. So, for fundus fluorescent angiography, so we should know so what is filling time, and we should know each lesion whether it is hyper or hyperfluorescent. And for each lesion, we should know where is the size, shape, and intensity, and what is the change in intensity with each phases. So coming to the phases of angiography, so once the dye is injected, so initial first 10 seconds is the choroidal phase. The fluorescent dye appears initially in the choroidal because of the choriocapillary leak. And usually whenever there is a cilioretinal artery, you will get a cilioretinal fill along with the choroidal flow because both are supplied by short posterior ciliary artery. So following which the next 2 seconds is the arterial phase. So where the dye enters into the arterial system. So the normal arm to retina time is 12 seconds, which is very important for certain diagnosis. So following the next phase is the arteriovenous phase where the dye enters into the venous system, so which is 1 to 2 seconds. So next, the dye completely enters into the veins. So initially there will be a lamellar flow and following which is a complete filling into the veins, which lasts up to 20 to 30 seconds. So next comes the dye later on leaves from the retinal circulation and it is being excreted from the kidney. And here it is called recirculation time or late phase. So where it is after 2 to 7 minutes after the injection of dye. So in the late phase, you can see there are disc staining, which is normal. So this is a tabular column which shows a normal time for each phases, which is very important. So in this slide, you can see there is a delay in retinal arm time, which is specifically seen in ocular ischemic syndrome and in other peripheral vascular disorders like carotid occlusions. So emission of fluorescent light, even in the absence of fluorescent dye, is called autofluorescence. It is commonly seen in optic nerve head drusen, astrocytic hematoma, and some myelinated nerve fibers, and in some lipofuscin deposits. So to describe the findings in fundus fluorescent autography, we have to know certain terminologies. So we have hyperfluorescence and hypofluorescence. The hyperfluorescence can be divided into two, whether it is a window defect or it is an increased fluorescent content. It can be again further divided into leakage, pooling, and staining. So what is window defect? So it is an unmasking of normal background of choroidal fluorescence. This unmasking may be due to the absence of the layer in front of the choroid. So it is commonly seen in atrophy of retinal pigment epithelium. So if you can see in this picture that there is a window defect, there is a focal choroidal atrophy in the macula, and you can see the normal choroidal fluorescence. So how can you differentiate this from other fluorescence? So this window defect will be seen only in the early phase, whereas in the later phase, it gets faded because the choroidal phase disappears. Again, in full thickness macular hole, you can get a window defect. So again, you can see the window defect in cases of angioid streaks. So pooling is the accumulation of dye in a closed space, whether it's a subretinal or sub-RPE space. Commonly, it is seen in pigment epithelial detachments. So in pooling, there will be an increase in the size, but the intensity remains same with the increase in phase of the angiography. Staining, there will be increase in the intensity, but the size remains same. The border of the lesion will remain same. So normally the optic disc gets stained at the later phases, and sclera staining will be seen in the high myopic, whereas pathologically you can see in drusens in the late phases, you can see the staining, and again in laser scars, you can see the hyperfluorescence in the late phases. So what is leakage? The fluorescent may leak through either in the alteration in the external blood retinal barrier or internal blood retinal barrier. So in the leakage, there will be increase in the intensity and size. Both will be increased with the increased phases from early phase to late phase. So there are different types of leak. It can be either in the macula or it can be elsewhere. So commonly you can see neovascularization elsewhere. In the first picture, you can see there is an increase in the intensity and size in the late phases. Again, you can diagnose choroidal neovascular membrane with a late leakage. So this is a case of cystoid macular edema. You can see the classical flower petal appearance and the late leakage. So coming to hypofluorescence, so it could be either block fluorescence or vascular filling defect. So normally the fovea appears hypofluorescence. It is because of the increased density of xanthophylls which blocks the normal choroidal fluorescence. So the transmission defect can be the different layers of retina. So if it is in the pre-retinal, both the choroidal and retinal vasculature could be, fluorescence could be blocked. For example, in this picture, you can see that choroidal and retinal fluorescence is blocked. But if it is in the intraretinal layer, it could be either superficial or in the deep. You can see that's a blocked fluorescence at the layer of retina. Whereas subretinal hemorrhage and certain pigments like choroidal melanoma, choroidal nevi, and RP hypertrophy will have choroidal fluorescence will be blocked. So this is a case of subretinal hemorrhage where you can see the normal retinal vasculature, but the choroidal fluorescence is blocked. So again, this is a case of hypertrophy of retinal pigment epithelium. You can see the clear borders of hyperfluorescence, but the retinal vasculature is well defined. So filling defect could be due to different circulation abnormalities. It could be central or branch retinal artery occlusion, or capillary non-perfusion, or choroidal non-perfusion. So here you can see the segmental non-perfusion in the layer of superior. It is due to branch retinal arterial occlusion. It is mainly seen in the arterial phase. Again, it is a case of central retinal arterial occlusion with the cilio-retinal artery sparing, and you can see the globalized filling defect, which is mainly seen in the arterial phase. Again, in CRAO, there will be specifically there will be delay in the retinal arterial filling time, but the choroidal filling time will be normal. So in central retinal vein occlusion, you can see this especially in the ischemic CRVO, you can get a filling defect. We can get a CNP areas in the late phases and arteriovenous phases. So again, this is a case of BRVO with a segmental capillary dropouts. So the limitations of FFA is that it does not permit the study of choroidal circulation because of the high melanin in retinal pigment epithelium, and you need to overcome by doing indocyanine angiography. So again, FFA is an invasive procedure. You have more adverse reactions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thinasaran. Sir, I would like to ask you, Dr. R.C. Paul, sir, one advice that you would like to give to the postgraduates while they're learning the art of deciphering FFA. What is that one advice you would like to give them to the postgraduates, sir?
First of all, before advising FFA, be sure about and be ready about to see any adverse effects like anaphylaxis. This is something what is dangerous.
That is one very important thing that the postgraduate should be very careful about